They sentenced me to 15 days in the chute. I said, okay. At 15 days came, they said, Pearson, cuff up. I said, nope.
Stay.
They were like, what do you mean, no? I said, no, you're leaving. No, I'm not leaving. Y'all keep putting me in here in the chute for something I'm not doing. I might as well do the rest of my time in the chute. He looked at me, he
He didn't
said,
know what to do with you then.
Pearson, who the hell don't want to leave the chute? I said, I just told you. So he goes to get the lieutenant. The lieutenant come, Pearson, cuff up. Nope. I'm gonna stay right here. He said, fine, leave her in the chute.
What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassity. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares and set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with and others who survived their own nightmare. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you can come away with a nugget of something that'll help you knock down some of the prisons you built up in your own. All right, welcome back, Nightmare Success In and Out. Listeners, this is where you come for what happens when your worst fear becomes your reality. How do you adapt, survive, overcome, set yourself free? And don't forget, guys, follow, subscribe, share this thing out, like it up. It helps the show, really helps the show, and I really appreciate it. So who are we talking to today? Well, we're talking to Freya Pearson, and I have gotten to know her. She's part of my my group, my Monday night group, Jeff Grant's white collar support group. We got to know each other, and we've spent some time talking on the phone. She's quite the personality. I can tell you that. She's on go all the time. And her story, it's got a little bit of real estate. It's got a little bit of nonprofit. It's got a little bit of a lottery winner all rolled up in one story. And she went to trial. She didn't win, which is usually what happens. She ended up getting 60 months. And she's now, I was just talking to her before we got started. She's a paralegal, but she is getting ready to take her LSAT test tomorrow, which for all those who know about the LSAT, that is the entrance exam for law school. And I can't wait to see Freya Pearson as an attorney. Welcome world, or Freya Pearson in the courtroom. Can't wait to jump into all that. Before we do, I want to recognize show sponsor Auto Plaza Direct. You know, who likes spending a couple of weekends walking car lots looking for a car. Then you spend 4 or 5 hours in the dealership to buy a car. It's kind of like a root canal appointment. Well, there's a better way to take away all that pain and hassle getting a car. It's called Auto Plaza Direct. They're your personal car concierge. Just tell them the car you want, what you can pay, and they'll go find that car for you. They'll negotiate your best price. They also offer you warranties and financing. It's all full service. Go to autoplazadirect.com to get started with your personal car concierge. It's a new hassle-free way, the car buying experience you deserve. Auto Plaza Direct. Tell them Brent from Nightmare Success sent you. Folks, I want to share with you a powerful and moving new book you won't want to miss. My Name is Saffron. Voices, silenced, stifled, and taken away by author Saffron Gustafson. This isn't just a story. It's a journey through resilience, survival, and reclaiming your voice after being silenced for far too long. Saffron's story takes you inside the hidden struggles, the pain, and ultimately the triumph of refusing to be defined by circumstances. As Saffron was putting the finishing touches on her book, the prison she had just been released from, Federal Dublin FCI, was permanently closed because of sexual abuse of the women prisoners. If you've ever wondered what it takes to rise from the darkness of places, to find your truth, and to speak it boldly, this book will inspire you. Pick up your copy of My Name is Saffron today, available now on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Trust me, you'll be moved, challenged, and changed by her story. Well, welcome in, Freya. How are you?
I am doing all right today, Brent. I am doing all right.
Well, we were both just discussing our knee situations. We both have torn meniscus, and Freya was nice enough to tell me she's got a special thing that you can buy at CVS that takes out the inflammation, which I'm going to be buying after the show. I just had my cortisone shot, so I'll use anything and everything to get rid of the pain. So I'm ready to gear up on that. So Freya, we've had some discussions.
We have.
What I was thinking is that I might be a little bit confused on where you grew up, because your story bounces back and forth between Kansas City, Atlanta, Georgia. Did you grow up in Kansas City?
I grew up in Los Angeles, born and
Wow.
raised. I am.
Wow. So
Mhm.
let's talk about that. What was little Freya doing in Los Angeles growing up?
You know, and my grandmother raised me,
Okay.
and so I actually she was a school teacher,
Yeah.
and I had a great life, well loved, and I had a family of educators, so it was something. LA is a very different place.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
growing up as a kid, I'm sure. And plus, you've got teachers that you're growing up
yes,
with. They probably didn't cut you any slack.
0,
Zero. Yeah.
0.
That
I
might be
caught
where your tenaciousness comes from, maybe.
and it is. I've been the same way since I was a kid. I laugh and joke sometime, and I think a lot of people tend to think my regular conversation is funny, but I'm serious.
So,
So
yeah, I get that.
I've learned through the years to kind of flow with it, but I be serious in what I'm saying. I'm just pretty blunt
Did
all
you
the time.
have did you have siblings, Freya, or were you
I am
just
an
the
only
only thing?
child from my
Only
mother.
child. Okay.
I have siblings from my father.
Okay.
So and my other grandparents lived probably 10 minutes down the street.
Okay, so the
So,
family was pretty tight knit then.
oh yeah.
And
Oh
when you
yeah.
said your grandmother brought you
My
up,
grandmother and her siblings as well. We were a
s
very old-fashioned type family.
did you
So we
have
did
a did you have a relationship with your mom or your dad?
it was, my dad died,
Okay.
when I was probably 7, 8,
Okay, so were you young?
and my mother, she's just kinda in and out,
Okay.
I don't think she was ready for motherhood,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't think she's ever gotten that, I don't whatever it is that she needs to be that.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you have to understand that it's just not in a person,
Right.
and then you move on, so,
As
uh,
you moved on, I mean, your
absolutely,
grandparents sound like they were great people to be with
absolutely,
and grow up with.
absolutely.
So when you were going as a high school kid, what were you thinking? Were you thinking college? Were you how did you
I
progress?
was, and I was thinking college. I did start off in college for a bit, but being young and dumb, fell in love with an older man
Okay.
and couldn't keep myself on track.
I've read that
Hindsight is
book.
2020, You look back on like, what was I thinking?
So you
Then you
started
have
college for a little bit, fell in
mhm,
love, older man. Did you just start the I'm
had
an
kids.
adult now and
I
I'm
had a
in the
kid. Yeah.
okay.
On my 21st birthday,
Yeah.
I had a kid. So her and I share the same birthday, and then another one, so life just started lifing.
Right.
It started lifing, and I had every reason in the world as to why I didn't go back to college. None of them make any sense, but still
Just
use 'em.
rationalizing it all out.
I
Yeah.
still use 'em.
Yeah. I get that.
So now I'm at the tail end of that,
You're
and
getting all educated.
that part we're gonna do something with it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something with it.
So you get married, have kids. What brings you to the Midwest?
Um, family.
Okay.
My mother was born in St. Louis,
Okay.
and my I have a lot of family there, a
Okay.
lot. So I was always back and forth, and we didn't get married. We just were together.
Okay.
But I was just back and forth to St. Louis from the time I could travel as a little kid on up. I used to spend summers there with family, so it was just a second home.
Okay. So you just knew it really well.
Yes. Mm,
And you got into the real estate business. How did
I
that
did.
all take place?
Well,
It's not
and
an easy that's not an easy industry to crack into. I mean, it's you it's a great job, but it's not. I
I
mean, if you
started
know
in the mortgage
people,
industry.
yeah, you know people, you build up a book of business, you get referrals, but to get
Mhm.
started, it's kind of tough, isn't it?
Well, I didn't start in the traditional way. I
Okay.
started, in the mortgage industry.
Okay. Start
That was
mortgage
what I did.
first.
Yeah, I was in the mortgage industry back when they had handwritten 1003s and
Okay.
we were able to talk to the underwriters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I learned from the underwriters. And from that, I realized that, it was very difficult to find a real estate agent for clients. So I went and got my real estate license.
Hmm.
And once I did that, it was just real estate sporadically. But the way I got my real estate license was interesting. I didn't go to real estate school.
Really?
No, I was pretty decent with mortgages back then. And so the real estate commission granted me a sitting to take the exam. They told me I had to make a certain score, and I did. And they granted me my real estate license. So I never went to real estate school. When I tell people that, agents who've been around for 20, 30 years, they're like, that's not possible.
Well,
Like,
I mean, it's not necessarily an easy exam either, but if you're a
it
good
is
test
not.
taker,
Yeah, it is not. It was a challenging exam because especially coming from the industry already,
mhm,
because none of the things on the exam are what you do every day.
usually is that way on those type of exams.
Yes.
The real
And
life
that
stuff
that
comes after you pass your test.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, it's been an interesting journey, I can tell you that.
So you roll in, do real estate back and forth. Um, so is your life going along pretty good before your nightmare lands on you?
It was going along pretty good. Things changed a bit, and I lost a lot when the crash happened.
Okay.
The crash in '07,
Mhm,
'07, '08. It started the
mhm.
beginning of '07 and went on through, that year was not a great year for any of us in the industry. So through that time, I lost quite a bit. We were making a lot of money and spending a lot of money.
Mhm.
So, and a lot of us, it doesn't matter how much money you're spending if you're not bringing in that type of income anymore. You're looking at 30, $40,000 a month.
Right.
That you're no longer making, but you still have a $7,000 a month mortgage.
Exactly. You
Not a
still
whole
you
lot
still
of
have those
jobs.
bills.
Right. There's not a whole lot of jobs you can go to make that kind of money. So I kind of got a little discouraged at that time and just started just focusing a little bit more on real estate. And just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Because that's something.
How old would you have been about that time period?
Oh, what was I in my
2008, 2009.
30s?
Okay.
I think I
Mid
was
to
in my
late 30s.
yeah, yeah. So it was a challenge. It was a challenge, when there's something that you've always done, to make that change, and then you're sitting there without a degree,
Mhm,
trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I do from here?
mhm.
It's not all that simple, and then you're stuck with a level of arrogance because of the lifestyle you live, and then
Yeah,
that situation, kind of humbles you.
yeah.
So it is quite a few things that go through at that time. Some
But you
intended, most aren't.
Yeah, but you don't what you find out in that type of situation, I think, Freya, is if you don't stop or you don't quit on yourself, you can usually find a way to make the next thing happen. It's when you get stuck and you kinda curl up in a fetal position and say, "I give," and everything comes at you like a tidal wave. And you strike me as that person that always is on, "I don't care what it is or what I gotta do, but I'm gonna take that next step." So how does this unravel for you? Because it's a crazy story. Because if you look at it from the outside, you've got a lottery person, you've got investments, you've got a nonprofit. Can you kind of just let the listeners in on what your
Well,
story happened?
initially, I moved to Kansas City,
Okay.
and I've been there for a while. I'd been there actually off and on for a while. And a friend introduced me to this lady.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady is, I'll just say, a character.
Mm-hmm.
She was a character. And there were some things that she wanted done that I was not willing to do. And then I ended up being that kind of
Was she
go-to.
looking for, because she'd won the lottery, was she looking for advice on what
No,
she should do?
she had
She'd
won the
already done
lottery
that.
2
She'd already,
years. Yeah, 2
yeah,
years before I even met her.
she was
She had
already
won
set
the
up
lottery.
with the
Yeah,
financial
she
advisors and that. Okay,
already done. Yeah, she
got
had
it.
won the lottery 2 years before, and the problem was, um, she was, I don't know how to really describe her. Um, they describe her as financially unsophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think that she's kinda likes things done her way. Eh,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, she likes it done her way.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I ended up being her for de facto person for everything that she
Okay.
would call me for. "Can you run me to the grocery store? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And, "Oh, their bank is taking my money." And, you know, it was a situation to where she was just simply overdrawing her account every month,
Mm. Okay.
but initially, I didn't realize that they weren't the problem. So I'm out here
You're
battling
thinking that
these.
everything that's happening is
It
happening
is
against
right. So
her,
I'm
right?
out here battling these people, and I'm fussing at them, and they're looking at me like I have lost my mind, and I'm looking at them like, well, no, you're not going to do this to her, and you did this and you did that. And then I got caught up in that little web.
Yeah.
And I realized that as long as things were going the way that she wanted, she was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if something changed, she was no longer your friend or your person. And she did that to everybody in the bank, and she did that to the investment companies. She did that to all of them. She would make these agreements with them, and everything be going fine till she decides she wants to do something else. And then you're supposed to just stop, let her out of whatever, and keep it moving, and that's how she operated. And I realized, in the, I didn't realize that really till my situation kind of blew up and we got to looking at the paperwork, and she would say stuff like, well, that's my signature, but I didn't sign that. And this was
Mm.
bank stuff. Yeah, you signed this.
Yeah.
you know, you signed all this stuff, you agreed to all of these things. And then it was, no, they tricked me. That's the go-to,
Yeah.
but when you really look at the situation, um, they didn't trick her. I didn't trick her. She just wanted to change the rules,
Yeah.
and I was in no different situation than the banks were, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because she did a loan for me. I paid on it for a year and a half. And she had gotten so much money outside of the monthly agreement that I had paid almost a year and a half ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
when the
the
situation,
way that you explained it to me is that the financial arrangement that you came away with her for the loan, she was making more than what she would have made with what she was doing, where she was overdrawing on her accounts and so on.
that is correct.
You actually put her in a situation where it was more consistent, and so how does this build momentum where it lands on you?
Well, initially, she was getting like $2,500 a month from her annuity.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's what the paperwork says, $2,500 from the annuity. But the way the annuity works is they budget $30,000 a year.
Okay.
That's how you get the $2,500 a month. So if you take, 5,000 out of the annuity, that's no longer 30,000.
Right.
That's 25,000 divided by 12. If
Mhm.
you take 10,000 out for that year, then, you know, it diminishes. Well,
Yeah, it
she
just
I
keeps
don't
going
know.
down on your monthly
Right,
drop,
and she
right.
was down to $780 a month.
Okay.
So when we talked about the situation, she picked the amount that she wanted to be paid, which was $1,200.
Mhm.
And I said 1,200 is fine. So, but at the time, again, I'm not realizing the whole picture. I'm not realizing all of what's going on because I'm not fully into it at that time.
Mhm.
So we go ahead, we do the transaction, everything is fine. I'm Christmas comes, she's supposed to get a $1,200 a month payment. She wants $8,000. So I give her, you know, make my payments on time. I give her the $8,000. You know, then every month it's for an extra 400 here, 500 there. You know, and then it comes to a point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna need a minute because you're outside of our loan agreement.
Mhm.
And but she doesn't care. She only cares that she's receiving whatever she wants. In her mind, I don't care what agreement she makes, even with the banks. She says it's her money and she can do what she want to do with it.
Right.
So it kind of puts you in a situation to where it's like, that's a problem. You know, even the guy from the bank, he couldn't stand me. And partly I understood and partly he was still a jerk. You know, I'm gonna own my part because I went off on her behalf. And when we got the evidence and, you know, information from trial, there was an email in there where he didn't want to be her advisor anymore because she is, in his words, she is blowing through her money because that's what she was doing. You know,
Which, by the way, that there's a lot of people there. I think even one of the streaming shows had a series. What I don't know if it was a series, but it was about lottery winners, how they win all this money and go broke.
well, she
And
did a show where I don't know, I never saw it, but my cousin told me she saw it, where she did a show of lottery winners where people con lottery winners or something,
yeah,
you know. And I'm like, I didn't even know her when she met won the lottery. For 2 years, I didn't know
yeah,
her. She had already blown through the majority of that money. I'm
right,
talking probably 70% of that money was gone.
yeah,
You know, so
in a short
and
amount of time.
it was, and it was just from shopping. You know, she
Yeah,
loved the shopping network. You know, and you know, when you look at it, it is her money. You
sure.
know, and if she wants to set it on fire, it's hers to do so with. You know, but once you make those agreements, you know, with the bank, with the annuity companies, with me, for that matter, then that's what the agreement is. But that's not something that she wants to
So
stick
you
to.
guys made a simple loan agreement
In
um,
writing.
in
Hmm.
writing. You're going to pay her 1,200. She's asking for more month to month
Every
just because
month.
she knows you. Uh, when does this come to a head?
Probably about maybe 3 or 4 months after I stopped payment for a while, and
Okay.
I wasn't behind. We got an IRS, a CI agent.
Mhm.
She entered the picture, and she was a interesting little person, um, and I watched how she operated, and it was as if it didn't matter what happened, she wanted to proceed with the case.
Mhm.
This was her first case, from what I understand, that was
She had her
with
teeth
some.
in it. She wanted
Yeah, you
something
know,
to
and
happen.
exactly. And so it caused her to do criminal behavior. You
Uh-huh.
know, she went from a CI agent to a criminal
Mhm.
because she's testifying in front of the grand jury like completely false. You know, it's not an interpretation. She actually lied to them flat out.
Mhm.
You know, and when you look at these type of things, it's quite disturbing. You know, you look at the AUSA, that's another criminal,
Mhm.
you know, and because she's suborning this perjury, you know. And what I learned from going through this situation is the hypocrisy of it all. The hypocrisy. You have a case agent who commits perjury, obstructs justice, commits fraud on the court, and that's all right. And it's plain as day right there. You have a AUSA who lies to the court, suborns perjury, and then you have to look, there's a level of conspiracy because they had to have discussed this prior to it happening.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the same things that they charge people for.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
I'm curious with how this rolled up. Did you always think, Freya, that whatever happens, I'm going to trial?
yeah, it was that way. Um, I am an open-minded person, so when she and don't laugh, initially got her indictment on Halloween.
Okay. October
And
31st.
so that part. And so
That was my mom and dad's wedding anniversary too. That's always funny to me.
well, I
So
was
anyway, this happens on the 31st of
in the
October, Halloween.
31st. So I find out about it, and an attorney, he helped walk me in, and I walked in, walked right out. Processed and walked right out after that occurred. But I got to thinking about things, and I got to go. I'm one of those, let me go over this in my head. What is it that I need to do different? Could I have done something different financially? Yes. Yes. Were they criminal? No, they were not. So for me, when I look at this scenario, and if a IRS CI agent has to commit perjury, and if an AUSA has to suborn perjury just to get an indictment, that's a problem. That is a problem in our system of justice. That's a problem.
So when you were working through this, because very rarely does somebody go to trial. Uh, who's your defense attorney, and who are you
So,
working with as you're going through this?
well, initially I had a federal defender.
Okay.
Okay. Come to find out, because I'm just as dumb as a box of rocks in this
Yeah, this is the
system.
first time you've
Yeah,
ever been through anything like this, right?
I'm just I'm just dumb. But now I'm like, my spidey senses are tingling. Watching some of
Well,
these
well,
things.
I'm curious too, Freya. When all this came down, did they just show up and say, "Hey, we've got an indictment," or did you know that there
No,
was stuff that was surrounding you?
they had gone to people's house that I knew.
Okay,
And so they told me that something was going on.
the people
And
did that they
yes,
wouldn't
and
talk
so
to.
when I called the attorney, yeah, he was supposed to deal with it. Now
Okay,
he ended up the attorney ended up walking me in, but that didn't end up being my attorney. I ended up
okay,
with a federal defender, Bill Raymond.
okay.
And get this, in over 400 cases in 5 years, Bill Raymond had never been to trial on not one.
That doesn't surprise me.
Those numbers are not statistically possible
Yeah.
unless there's something underhanded there. And after I got to learning a few things, and I noticed that he wasn't doing anything. And then he became hostile when I didn't want to take a plea, and I'm asking to investigate the case, and it's not working. That, whatever his plan is, it's not working. I'll give you an example. I was in the hospital. I had to have emergency surgery in November of 15. And I'm in the hospital, and then we ended up with complications. He
Okay.
calls, I'm still in the hospital. I was only supposed to be in there 2 days, and he calls, I'm still in the hospital. He got mad that I was in the hospital with complications. Come to find out from the pretrial officer, he calls me, he says, you have your change of plea hearing next week. I said, are you sure you calling the right person? And so he kind of chuckled a bit. And I said, I don't have a change of plea hearing. I never said I was changing my plea. Are you sure it's me? He
Right.
said, well, hold on, let me look. He said, no, you have a change of plea hearing next week. I said, that could not possibly be. And so he said, you're kidding. He said, you know something? This is not the first time I've heard this. He said, I'll take care of it. So I don't know what he did at that point, but he sent something to the judge to let the judge know I was in the hospital and we didn't know, how long I'd be in there, which we didn't. And so we got past that little step, and then the opening in my stomach wouldn't close properly. So I'm steady in and out of the ER. Okay, so this is the beginning of November, and I'm steady in and out of the ER. So Bill and his little investigator girlfriend is what I call her, his little girlfriend. I'm informing them because I don't want an issue. I'm literally taking pictures of my stomach, and I think she called and sent it to him. She called one day. I was on my way to the ER. She had the audacity to call the next day asking me, when can she come down? I said, I just left the ER. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sick. My stomach is not closing like it should. And it's
Right.
like full of pus and blood. It messed up.
Yeah. Could get an infection. Yeah.
It was bad, so I went through that for the month of November and the entire month of December, but in the midst of this, his little girlfriend, I mean, it was like, I hadn't seen anything like it. When I look back on it, I am so glad I have the strength that my grandmother gave me, because they were brutal. It was really brutal in how they treated you when you wanted to go to trial. It was brutal, and the investigator, her name is Julie, she had such a nasty attitude, and I realized that it was because I was saying no. That's what it was about. Because initially I was nice to everybody. I think the first time I had to put Bill Raymond in his place was when I was in the hospital, and I simply hung up in his face. I'm in the hospital. They can't figure out what's wrong with me. I don't have time for you today. That's kind of the
Right.
attitude.
It's your health.
Right. So here we are in December, and Julie is trying to take up for Bill. Well, men don't understand. And I said, let me tell you something. I don't want to hear all that. I'm sick, and I don't care anything about any of those things. I need to get well. So all of what you're talking about, I don't care nothing about this trial, because if I don't get all this stuff fixed, I won't be at trial.
Right.
It's that simple. I'm have a bleeding disorder. I have my stomach is not closing up. I just had surgery, and there's a problem here, And she did something I thought was interesting. She was texting Bill, so she thought, but she sent the text to me.
That's interesting.
And it was a very unprofessional, kind of a little disturbing, and it showed her posture, and she was saying, I just got off the phone with her, and she was unpleasant, and she's this and she's that. And the only thing that I said was, I'm sick and you can't come this month. You know what I mean?
And she's
And
the
I'm like,
investigator, right?
yeah, that's his little girlfriend.
Okay.
Because when they finally came to visit me, in I think January they came, they were there 2 days, 2 nights, I think it was. And when they got there, they had the what do you call them?
Laptops?
Tablets.
Tablets?
They had 3 tablets. And we were all sitting down in the lobby. And I kid you not, this is what the scenario was. They had the tablets. All the evidence was on each tablet, I'm assuming. They said, read the evidence. So as I'm reading, I'm saying, this did not happen. And this did not happen. So, and I can prove that these 2 things didn't happen. So don't worry about that. We'll discuss that later. So I'm literally, nobody's talking. I'm just sitting there. And okay, I'm watching this. And so we got past that. I said, well, here's where we are. You don't like me and I don't like you. So let's just agree to disagree. Now let's move on. So we go to talk about the case. In my mind, I thought this is what we were going to talk about. All Bill wanted to talk about, the federal defender, was mitigating circumstances. I said, listen, I want to talk about my case. Well, I think you're going to be convicted. I said, well, doing what we're doing right now, you're probably right because we're not doing anything. So can we investigate the case?
Mhm.
Well, I don't think you're realistic. I don't think you're seeing the forest for the trees. I said, I'm seeing the forest and the trees, and I want to investigate my case. Well,
And he didn't want that. He wanted you to
he
immediately
didn't.
go in
And
and do a plea bargain.
and they were angry. Like it was like a tone that they had.
Mhm.
And so we go up, they're about this like the next day. And then I go up to, I don't remember one of their, I think it was Bill's room and Julie was there. And so I'm trying to talk to Bill about the issues I'm having and she's answering. So I said, I'm trying to talk to him. You can't answer for my attorney.
And Freya, would she have been was she been an investigator with the FBI?
No, she
What
was
was her official
federal
title?
defender's investigator.
Oh, she was on your side.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Hard to
I
believe.
thought that you were meeting. I thought you were
No,
meeting with your attorney and this investigator that has
no.
been. She's on your side. Supposed to be
That part.
investigating your case.
That part.
Oh, wow. Okay. I totally misunderstood that whole transaction there.
I'm
So
telling
these are
you.
your two people that you're supposed to be
These are
meeting with about your situation that you want them to investigate your
that
case.
part.
All right. I got it.
That part. Now, please help me with that one. So she told me she could speak for my
That
attorney.
is out of bounds.
I'm telling you. When
I
I
was thinking,
tell
well, if she didn't like you, well, it was because she was an FBI agent and
right,
she's
I can
okay. Well,
understand that.
all right. I'm with you now. Well,
But so
did you at that point, did you also think that maybe because of this situation that you wanted to change attorneys?
well, and this was January. So what I started doing in December was recording them.
Okay.
I
Okay.
started recording them because I'm looking at all of these wonderful accolades that everyone has to say about Bill Raymond.
Okay.
But the Bill Raymond that I'm seeing is not the person that they're describing. And it's very difficult to explain to somebody what he's doing. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. But so I started recording them. So this is January. So we're trying to figure out when they're going to come back because we didn't accomplish anything. They came to bully me. It didn't happen. So, okay, look, you guys gonna have to do some work. Now, keep in mind that this is January of 2016. I
And
was indicted November of, no, I'm sorry, October 31st of 14.
oh my gosh, so we're talking about a year and a half has gone by?
Do you hear me? Now, let's back up a little bit. Let's go
And
to
the other thing, Freya, when this indictment landed on you, what like with your family and everything else that was in your world, what was going through your mind that I'm dealing with a federal indictment?
I wasn't guilty, so I wasn't real worried about it.
You just thought if
Because,
we can get through and check the
right, I
boxes, then
knew
they'll all get figured out.
I knew with all of the
Everybody
information,
just needs information.
that's it.
Okay.
And so let's go back to November. Now, indicted October 31st of 2014.
2014. Yeah.
This is November of 2015.
Okay.
Bill Raymond said he was ready for trial.
Okay.
At that time, I had only spoken to him, and not at the same time, 4 hours and 41 minutes.
He was ready to go on a federal criminal trial.
4 hours.
Now, let
And
me
none
ask
of
you
it was
this.
at the same time.
Had a trial date ever been set at this point, or did you know
Yes.
of that? Okay, it
Several. He kept extending the trial dates.
kept extending
And
it
then,
out, which
yeah,
happens a lot. Okay.
yeah. And then in November, he was like, well, we're going to go to trial. We're going to have, I said, so the next week I thought was pre-trial.
Okay.
I didn't know that that was a change of plea hearing.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here thinking, how in the world are we at pre-trial? He hasn't interviewed one witness. He hasn't ordered any bank statements. He haven't even interviewed me. I'm like, how are we waiting for trial? So I'm watching this stuff. So then so that's November of 15. So let's go and fast forward to January. They came, they left. I'm recording all this stuff. So now every conversation we have, I'm recording. So then Bill starts to do this. He starts to say things like in email, well, you said I did a change of plea hearing because you said you were going to take accountability for your actions. And I'm like, what? So I fired back immediately through email. No. I have a whole documented trail. I'm talking within minutes. Absolutely not. I've never told you that. What are you talking about? Then I have emails where I kept begging to investigate the case. They did nothing. Come May, I had sent in a letter to Judge Finner, who was initially my judge.
Okay.
And it was a 23-page letter. I did a call log. I attached the emails. I put it together of what I was saying, the issues were, because he wouldn't investigate my case. No one had been interviewed. No documentation had been requested. No bank statements. Nothing had been done. But he's ready for trial. So during this time, I get a notice about the Marsden hearing, that a hearing has been set to change the attorney. So, this gets interesting. So we all show up. And it's an interesting dynamic in the room. We have the prosecutor over here. We have Bill and his little girlfriend at the table, Julie. And then we have the judge. So the judge is initially was fussing at Bill for not talking to me since, he received the notice. So I'm watching the dynamic, and something in this courtroom is off to me, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I didn't find out for 2.5 years what it was. So we went through the hearing. She didn't want to hear any of the evidence, although she already had it in her possession. Okay. I had also sent the tapes. I'd emailed them to her clerk. And she didn't want to, she said she wasn't going to review the evidence. She had already done that. Which I thought was weird. It was like, we don't get to talk about anything,
Right.
And she says, she dismissed the prosecutor from the room. And then we talked a little bit about our communication had broken down, but nothing in detail.
Okay.
We had just agreed that communication had broken down. He said he felt the same, that communication had broken down.
Okay.
So the hearing continues. She says she's going to relieve him of duty and find me a new attorney. And then this is what she told me. She said, it's going to be difficult to find a new attorney because of you taping. When I tell them that you have taped your last attorney, it's going to be difficult. And you're going to have to get along with this next attorney because we're not going to be giving you another attorney after this.
Okay.
Now, I'm the problem. He has done zero investigation in 19 months, but I'm the problem. So she takes him off the case. I no longer have attorney. Now we have a continuous. There's no longer a pretrial that's coming up. Prosecutor's mad. If looks could kill, she'd have killed me. She tried to argue to the judge that it has been many continuances, and mind you, I'd only had one while in the hospital.
Right.
The rest were the attorney.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm just listening. The judge said, you can say what you want, but she's without counsel. So there's going to be a continuance till I find her counsel. So she finds me counsel.
How does that work?
CJA attorney, John Justin Johnston.
Okay.
Okay. Initially,
do you have any say in that? I was curious how that works.
No say.
The judge just appoints that person, and
there
the you are. Okay.
And there I am.
All right.
So initially, I liked him. He was okay.
Okay.
The reason I liked him, I realized, was because he did more than Bill did.
Yeah.
Which didn't take much, but he did more. And one of the things he said, he called me, he said, I received the file from the federal defender today. I said, oh, okay. He said, there was nothing in it. I said, oh, I already could have told you that. I knew that. He said, no, I mean, there's like nothing in the file. Like nothing. I said, I
He said
know.
he was ready to go to trial.
Right. I said,
Yeah.
that's why I asked for the Marsden hearing. He said, this is crazy. So we got to talking a little bit. And again, he did a little bit more. You know, he ordered some documents, some he didn't. I ordered myself when I started doing my own advocacy. So I went and got bank statements and this kind of stuff and gave them to him. And I sent over all the documentation, everything I had investigated, all that kind of stuff. And I noticed that he was doing more than the last one, but the only thing he was doing differently was communicating. You know what I mean? Like when you really
but I'm
thought
sure
about
that
it,
felt a lot better by having
it did.
conversations. Sure.
Yeah, and it was good conversation, you know, but he didn't do anything that he said he was going to do. You know, I pointed out to him about the transcripts when we finally got the grand jury transcripts and saw that she had lied, and the lady didn't even testify, but saw that the CI agent had lied. And I showed him all of this, and he said, oh, he said, well, did you complete it? Well, I had, thank God, I I wouldn't do the handwriting exemplar until they agreed to give me a copy. So not only did they give me a copy that day, they initialed it, each page. Okay, the agents did. And they gave me my copy. I'm so glad I did, because she told the grand jury, this is what I'm telling him, she told the grand jury that I refused to complete the handwriting exemplar specifically by refusing to sign the lady's name. So she painted a picture like I forged the loan agreement. That's why I didn't want to sign her name on the handwriting exemplar. Well, I had the handwriting exemplar. I sent it to him. I said, well, look at it. I filled out the entire thing. Not only did I fill it out, but their initials on each page. He said, I see that. I said, isn't that perjury? Isn't that obstruction? Isn't that a crime? You know? So he's like, yeah, that's a problem. I said, and the AUSA, I said, she suborned that perjury. He said, well, I'm not going to go that far. I said, what do you mean you're not going to go that far? And that's when I got my inkling. I said, what do you mean you're not going to go that far? He said, well, I can't say that the AUSA, did this. This was a CI agent. I said, well, let me ask you a logical question. If they're not lying and conspiring together, how did she know to ask her that question? How did she know to ask her, to say to her, so she refused to complete the handwriting exemplar when it's sitting right there complete? They had to have worked together to do that. So he just kind of got quiet. I said, oh, Lord, here we go. He'd like the prosecutor. I wasn't sure, at this time, but I was wondering. So we had a disagreement about an extension. He had given her an extension again for something that she should have been able to take care of, the AUSA. So all I did was, tell him, I said, why do you keep giving her these extensions? He sent me an email that said, I don't need to get your permission to extend a courtesy to someone that I have to work with for the rest of my career. That was kind of disturbing. To extend a courtesy to someone you have to work with for the rest of your career. Why is that in your head? And you're supposed to be defending me. So I'm like, okay. So I'm watching a few little things happen. Then he was supposed to address all of the misconduct at trial. So every day he would say, I was like, well, are you going to address it? I'm going to just hold on. I'm going to take care of it. So I'm like, okay, well, let me back up because I skipped a step prior to trial. We're doing voir dire. We get the jury set. Let me back up. Prior to the jury being set, one lady stood up. She was a white lady. I'm telling you that on purpose. And because there was only one black person in the entire jury pool. And this lady stood up, the white lady, and she said, I have a question, Your Honor. And they fooled around and said what? And she said, I am concerned that no one in this jury looks like her and that she won't get a fair trial.
Wow.
And the judge, based on what I appreciate your concern, and it's noted, and she sat down. Well, the jury got picked. That one black guy got picked. Now, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the prosecutor talk to this guy, shaking his hand and apologizing to him for the death of his mother. Because he said that his mother was murdered and the prosecution got the guy that murdered his mother, and he was appreciative of that. So after he was chosen, the prosecution team was shaking his hand and apologizing to him for the death of his mother. So I said to my attorney, I said, did you see that? He said, what? So I told him what I just told you. He said, no, I didn't see it. I said, well, they just did that. I said, they can't do that. So the judge gets up, asks, does anybody have any more questions, because she's ready to move on. So he goes, well, no, but, then he asked me, well, do you have any more? I said, you ain't saying about that juror, that they talked to the juror privately. And so he goes, like, frustrated because he didn't want to. My client points out that someone from the prosecution team was talking to the juror and shaking the juror's hand. And so the judge snapped her hand over to the prosecution team. But in that time, the AUSA had turned and looked at the person who did it. Mind you, nobody said who it was yet. So she saw it happen. So the judge said, who? And so they said who it was. And, well, Your Honor, and she just went, she did go off on him. She did. She went off on him. And then she said, well, what do you want to do? So he looked at me. I said, well, what are we supposed to do? What can I do? He said, well, it's really, we probably just need to move on. I said, we're not supposed to do anything? He said, no. I said, oh, okay. I didn't know. I knew I didn't think they should be talking to the juror. I saw that on TV, but I didn't know that there was something I could have done.
Feel, Freya, starting this trial, you've got a new attorney. He's doing more than the other guy did by communicating with you. How did you feel walking into a courtroom with the United States of America versus Freya Pearson? What did that feel like to you?
Well, I was worried. I was worried because my confidence in him had dwindled because of the lack of follow through. I liked Justin, but I'm gonna say this because it's the truth. Justin, what I found out, was a recovering alcoholic in therapy, trying to rebuild his career. And I was his stepping stone. I was one of his stepping stones, I'm gonna assume.
Yeah.
And so when you have all of those things going on, you're in the middle of a trial, you're fighting your own counsel. I'm trying to get my case investigated. I'm watching the magistrate judge, a little strange, some of the things that she's saying and doing, because I'm researching as these things are happening. And then I'm watching my new attorney. You have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you don't process things as you normally would. So the intelligence that you would normally have, you may not have in that moment.
Right.
So I'm watching all of these things happen, and then all of a sudden I'm convicted, and I'm trying to
How
figure
long did
out
the trial last?
3 or 4 days.
Okay, so it wasn't a long trial then.
No, he didn't. There was he was the worst defense attorney in court. I mean, watching him, it was just like, did you hear that? Did you see that? And he's like, shh. And I'm looking at him like, sure, what? You don't do anything?
And when the jury came back in, you were
I was
feeling like,
shocked. I said, okay, if they're gonna get me on the ninth one they can't get me on, which was the false statements. Because there were 3 false statements, okay, that she accused me of making in one charge. Accused me of saying that I lived in Kansas City when I didn't. Well, the lease was in my name, the utilities were in my name, and nobody else stayed there. That was my place. That I had $60 in bank accounts when I had more. Well, I actually said, and they pulled out the paperwork, I had $60 in Bank of America. And then the third one was that I had interest income from my corporation when I said I didn't have any more income.
okay,
Well, I had went and got the bank statements for that, and the corporation had $300 of interest for the whole year. It was not material, but there was no breaching of the corporate veil. But he allowed the trial to go on as I'm the corporation.
yeah, as you or
And they
you,
never
yeah.
even breached the corporate veil. So it was so many things that were going on that I'm looking at that I'm just like, okay, well, what just happened? So after the trial, I
Well,
looked at
and you've got to wait for sentencing, right?
right,
Yeah.
and I'm like, got this guilt. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Well, I knew what happened because he didn't put on a defense. So I said to him, I said, you didn't address any of the misconduct. I said the prosecutor lied to the court in the severance request. They suborned perjury prior to. They committed perjury. I said, these are not. I said, is this me guessing or did you see this documentation? He said, Freya, I had to watch what I did to the prosecutor so as to not affect my future cases. I was devastated. I looked at him. I said, why didn't you tell me that beforehand? Why didn't you tell me that that was a problem you had before taking my case? And so he and the other little attorney he had helping him, we had went back and we were all talking and she said, well, your case, we did good on your case. I said, you call this good? I said, when you tell me that you had to watch what you did to the prosecutor so as to not affect your future cases, well, I mean, I did good work on your case. I did defend you. I said, well, let me ask you a question. If you took your daughter or your wife to an attorney in the beginning and he told you that, would you hire that attorney? Well, Freya, I hear what you're saying, but I said, that ain't what I asked you. Would you hire that attorney? You telling me what a good job. Would you hire that attorney? He never did answer the question. Because when you keep telling me how wonderful you are for making those type of statements,
Yeah.
I gotta kind of have a problem with that.
Well, and you get sentenced to, it's not a year and a day. You get sentenced to
He gave
60
me,
months.
I had 0 criminal history points, and the judge gave me the max. She said, this is the worst case I have ever seen in my history of cases. And there were so many moving parts. And I had to be quiet because I'm looking at him because the prosecutor had manipulated stuff that didn't even go here. And I'm quiet. And the reason I'm quiet is because she has to make the decision to let me stay out for my kids for the next few months.
Yeah.
So I can't say what I want to say. So for the sake of my kids, let me shut up and let them do whatever they're going to do right now. And she gave me the max she could give me with
And Freya,
0.
your kids at that time, how old would they have been?
Oh my gosh. My grandbaby was 5 or 6.
Okay.
And my daughter was 15.
So they were young.
Yeah.
So you get to voluntarily surrender. What are your thoughts when you pull up and walk into that world that you never thought you'd be walking into?
Well, my thoughts initially was I wasn't going into this world because we had this appeal, and he was going to file for me to be extended where I didn't have to go while the appeal was pending.
Mhm.
And when I saw the appeal initially, because again, I'm dumb, I didn't know at that time. And I'm like, "Oh, this looks good. Okay. Okay, but I noticed you don't have anything in here about the prosecutor stuff, and all this stuff." So I didn't understand about preserving, and all that kind of stuff. So the appeal is going on, and then he doesn't want to file for me to stay out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he
So
waits
you
till
so
like,
your mind was set on the fact, "I'm not really going
yeah,
because I've got time and, this appeal's gonna happen and I'll be able to work through it.
yes.
I wanna take a break here because I want to, when we get back, talk about the Freya Pearson in prison and how you tackled that
Oh,
world." All
yes.
right. So a lot of people don't like how they show up online. Many individuals think there's no hope when it comes to managing your reputation on Google. There's hope. It's called the Discoverability Company that can help you. Whether you're building a reputation from scratch, repairing your search results after a negative news story, Discoverability can help also how you're portrayed on popular AI services like ChatGPT. To learn more, visit discoverability.co. Listeners to Nightmare Success can take $100 off with coupon code Nightmare Success. And the Nightmare Success podcast is sponsored by the White Collar Support Group, the world's first support group devoted to people navigating the white collar criminal justice system. I'm a member of the White Collar Support Group, and I can tell you this is a bunch of people who help each other through the criminal justice journey for free. Whether you're just starting your journey or you've made it through to the other side, this is a great space for you. You can join us on Zoom Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on that, go to prisonist.org. Okay, Freya, we're back. And you are now not getting an appeal.
Whew.
You are entering prison, the
Mm,
unknown world that you never thought you'd be going
that
into. How do you enter that world? What are you thinking?
I ended it quietly. They thought I was weird, because I never talked to anyone initially, and all I would do was go back and forth to the law library with this little bag I had, the white bag I had. So they thought I was weird. And it was an interesting time. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. The
Mhm.
only bad part was being away from my kids.
For sure. Were you a
But
long
being
ways away mileage wise?
yes, I
Yeah.
was in Alderson.
Okay.
Yes. And so I forgot about this. The After a little while, I was, like I said, pretty quiet. And the compound bully decided I was going to be her target that day.
Okay.
And that did not end well. That did not end well. Uh, she learned very quickly uh, that I probably wasn't a person to be played with.
Mhm.
Um, and I couldn't believe at my age, here I am banging someone's head into concrete.
And
You
you've been
come
there
in
for
there.
about what, a week?
I had been there maybe, I'd say maybe about a month, right around there. And I didn't know she was the compound bully because I didn't mind anybody's business, at
Mhm.
the time. But she attacked me, and I'm like, oh, is this what we
This is
doing?
how this
Okay.
goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna go down like this. And that ended up being an ordeal, and I'll never forget the lieutenant, and not the lieutenant, the officer that was in there. Probably they didn't know what happened, and probably they came running. It was a mess, but they didn't know who was involved.
Mhm.
And so the officer, about 2 or 3 days later, she called me down into her office, and the lieutenant was sitting in there, and she said, "Pearson." And I just looked at her because I still wasn't talking to no, I just, And she said, I didn't know you had it in you. She said she didn't beat up everybody on this compound that's new and she said, I can't believe I I can't believe that you responded like that. I still didn't say one word. And she said, are you okay? I still didn't say anything. And so I left because if you're fighting, you go to the hole. Their hole was the county jail.
And they figure that out after the fact. They don't ask questions
After the fact.
before, right?
Yeah. But she told me that because that was the compound bully. I didn't know that. I just you ain't about to come here and just hit me. Like we're not about to do that. And I just could after the fact, all I could think about was I cannot believe that here I am supposed to be a professional.
Right.
And
Here
I
I
am
am.
in here with this foolishness right here. Are you kidding me?
A throw down prison fight.
I'm telling you, and then that stuff follows you.
Yeah.
So I'm a rebel. So I got to writing them up in there. When they got to messing with me, I mess with them back. Where you gonna put me? I'm already in here. So they had a doctor in there who should have been locked up. They had an older lady in there. I have to think of I have all of it put up somewhere, but there was an older lady in there and she kept coming in there and I was going in there at the time. I was having pain in my back. And I kept saying it was my kidney. I didn't know what it was. And so I'm going in there every day because if you harass them, they finally do something. But this doctor was a demon. And this lady would come in there and she had a walker. She was an older lady. And she was very sick. And the doc kept sending her out. Oh, she just wants to sit in here. And I'm looking at her like I'm watching her deteriorate every other day. She's looking more pale. She's just not looking right. So my situation is escalating. So I'm coming in every day. So they finally do the test that they need to do. So now we're waiting on the results. I'm coming in every day because they're taking too long with the results. So finally I come in on a day that the doctor is not there, that the nurse practitioner is there, and she likes me. And so she said, you're here again. Come on, let's look. So we look. She said, oh my God, you have hydronephrosis of your right kidney. I've got to get you on
I
medication.
don't know what that is, but that sounds bad.
It's a blockage in your kidney. So I said, okay. So she went, and the way she got me the medicine, it didn't show up in the system, is what I'm gathering. Okay. For whatever reason. So this is a Friday. Come Tuesday, I go back to because I'm not the sick call because I'm not feeling well. So then every time I go in, because the doctor hated me, she pulled my slip. So she pulled my slip. I go in there with her. I don't know what made me do it. Now, mind you, I've been on medication from Friday to Tuesday, So I say to her, I was wondering, have my test results come back yet? Let me look. So she looks in the system and she nope, your test results aren't back yet. I said, really? She said, nope. So you're just going to have to wait. It's probably a sciatic nerve. You're going to have to deal with it. I said, oh, okay. Well, thank you. I didn't say anything because in my mind, I didn't want nobody to get in trouble.
Right.
So I didn't say anything. And I left there. And then I spoke to the NP, the nurse practitioner, and I told her, she said, I don't care if you say something. I said, okay, good. I lit her on fire to that warden.
What was the outcome?
Oh, nothing, of course.
Well, I wanted
Now,
because
that lady,
yeah.
she died.
Oh my gosh.
She died. Yeah.
Wow.
She died.
Shocking, but not shocking. I think I've said, maybe you and I talked about this, but my dad had a colonoscopy in prison, and they perforated his colon, which made him septic, and then he went into a coma. And the thing of it is that I don't think people really know how bad medical treatment is in prison,
Woo.
but you don't want to find out how bad it is
You
because
do not.
it's really bad. But I want to talk about Freya. You ended up in the hole a few times to the point where they were saying they wanted to get you out of the hole, and you said, "No, I'm fine here."
Well, wait a minute. Let's back up because I didn't tell you something. While I was
Okay.
at Alderson, before I left, because I was in the hole somewhere else.
Okay.
When I was at Alderson, they had made me mad. So if you make me mad, then I have to learn. So I got to learn. So I wrote up all of them to the regional. They showed up on the compound, the regional and the assistant regional, and a bunch of people showed up on the compound.
Mm-hmm.
I left. I was there from the end of May to December. They were done with the transfers to Pekin, but they wanted me off the compound. So then I decided I wanted to go because it was volunteer.
Okay.
I said, I guess I'll go. And so they were like, I said, but it's past the deadline. Don't worry about that. The warden says you can go whenever you want to go. So you can go.
We want Freya out of here.
They wanted me off the compound. Well, what ended up happening, I leave the compound. The investigator came and saw me probably twice, I think it was. And they ended up, and you can look this up, walking the warden off, and the captain was arrested. Ended up taking a plea and got 10 years. Captain Grimes.
Wow.
From all the information I had written up and gave them, I was mad at them. So then we get to Pekin. That's another camp. They got mad at me, kicked me off their compound. So, because I was writing them up, wrote them to Congress. These people don't do anything. You write them up, don't nothing happen. Not like it's supposed to. There's not really a grievance system in prison. The administrative remedy process does not exist.
Right.
So now let's get to the compound you talking about. They put me behind the wall at Aliceville. And so when I first get there, my first month, everybody's like, don't go over there. And I'm seeing the door. That's the chute. I was like, I don't want to go over there. So
Nobody
they
wants to go
scared
to
me
the
half
chute.
down about the chute,
Right.
And then one day, this guard couldn't stand me. She was a hot mess. She used to bring contraband into the people. And I didn't get anybody's business. I don't care what you do, as long as you're not bothering me. But I don't know what her thing was with me. And she ended up writing me up saying I said something to her, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. The lieutenant comes. He this is what he told me. He said, I went and looked at the video like you asked me to. And you're right. I don't see where you said anything to her, but I'm still going to have to take you to the chute. I say, but if you see that I didn't say nothing to her, why am I going to the chute? Mm-hmm. He said, we have to
report our COs,
report our officers. I said, but she's lying. So he takes me to the chute. I'm scared to death trying to get over there. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to go to the chute. I get into the chute and I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, like I thought it was gonna be the boogeyman in here, somebody, Mm-hmm. But you go into a room, it's a bunk bed in there, your own shower, desk, sink.
Okay.
So I'm like,
that sounds like a better shoe. For those listening down the Cayman Islands, that's called a special housing unit, is what the shoe is.
So I go there the first time. I do my little time. It was just a few days, and then I come back. Okay. So now she done wrote me up again. I said, okay, this is what we doing. Not a problem. So I go back to the chute. They move my unit. And that's something they don't usually do. So they move me from A to C.
Okay.
So I get down there and C. It's a mess with that unit manager. Apparently her husband previously, what we find out, slept with one of the inmates.
Okay.
So now she has a disdain for inmates.
I bet.
Okay. So she's just a hot mess. Terrible attitude. They say she didn't used to be like that, but now she's hostile.
Mm-hmm.
So she tries to put the compound bully in the cell with me when they doing a bully change. I mean, a cell change. That ain't gonna happen. Not the compound bully, the compound drug dealer. She wasn't a bully, she was the drug dealer. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not getting involved in this type of stuff. And so the officer says that the girl threatened me, which she did. But I wasn't scared, but she threatened me. So the officer did not give me an order. She wrote me up talking about I was given an order and I denied the order. Well, that did not happen. So I get over there, and mind you, I had already been to let them know that I had been threatened. I don't want any problems. Mm-hmm. So the lieutenant was supposed to have been on it. It did not happen. So they ended up putting me in the shoe. I said, I got something for them this time. You can put me in here, the stuff I'm not doing, I'm going to stay in the shoe. So the shoe, they sentenced me to 15 days in the shoe. I said, okay. That 15 days came. They said, Pearson, cuff up. I said, nope.
I'm staying.
They were like, what do you mean, no? I said, no, you're leaving. No, I'm not leaving. Y'all keep putting me in here in the shoe for something I'm not doing. I might as well do the rest of my time in the shoe. He looked at me. He said,
didn't know what to do with you then.
Pearson, who the hell don't want to leave the shoe? I said, I just told you. So he goes to get the lieutenant. The lieutenant come, Pearson, cuff up. Nope. I'm going to stay right here. He said, fine, leave her in the shoe. He thought he was doing something. About 2 or 3 days, they come back trying to get me out the shoe. Nope. Then they try to put a bunkie in there. Well, if I got to be in here indefinitely, you are absolutely not putting a bunkie in here. I'm in here by myself. Mm-hmm. No. So, well, you're getting an incident report. Well, hurry up and write it up. Let me see what you got to say. So they wrote the incident report. I ended up with 3 of them. They tried to put 3 bunkies in there. And so I ain't care. Because I told him, I said, well, where are you going to put me? I'm already in the shoe. Was you going to give me some time in the shoe? So the lieutenant comes. Now it's been 45 days. I only had 15. Now it's been 45 days. Lieutenant comes. You are getting out of my shoe, Pearson. Cuff up. I said, nope. Pearson, I'm going to send our SRT team in here. I said, and I'm going to cuff up then. And when they put me outside the door, I'm just going to lay on the ground through count. And then you know where they're going to put me? Back in your shoe.
Back in the shoe.
He got the cuss and he was one of the nice lieutenants. He was so mad. You are getting out of my shoe. I said, and I have 3 incident reports. He goes, no, you don't, because I dismissed them all.
Just like
I just looked at him. I wasn't expecting that, But I said, so this is where I'm going to stay. So they knew that one of the lieutenants I really liked and respected. Mm-hmm. They called her from home. Lieutenant St. John. She came up to the shoe and she said, open the door. They were like, Lieutenant, they're not supposed to open the door unless you cuff up. She's opened the damn door. She came in there. She said, man, what is it? I didn't call me from home. What is going on? So I told her, I said, they keep putting me in here for stuff I'm not doing. So I might as well stay in here. I said, because every time you go to the shoe, they throw away your stuff. Your open
terrible.
Stuff. Yeah. And why are you throwing away shampoo when you give it to the people open? It's already open. So why are you throwing that kind of stuff? Why are you throwing away deodorant? Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff, but they throwing it away. So I said, I might as well stay in here. I said, y'all gonna bring me all the stuff I need. And since I had medical, I got special stuff. I got oil, got stuff. So I didn't care. So she finally convinced me to come out the shoe. She put me in the 3rd unit. They only had 3. Well, they didn't want me in the unit. You could hear them back and forth when she announced it on the radio. I mean, back and forth. The other unit manager with this unit, it was a mess. So finally, I get over to the unit, and the unit manager says, don't unpack your stuff because you're not going to be here long. I didn't say anything. So I sat for a little while. She came back. Don't get comfortable. I said, okay, I got something for them. So I left out of there. I went over to the ward. I said, now, ward, I said, they starting to get on my nerves. So I told her what happened. I said, nah, I haven't done anything. I said, do I bother your officer? Do I disrespect them? No, you don't. You just work my nerves. I said, okay, but I do it in right. She's like, yeah. I said, so I'm sick of, she said, don't worry about it. I said, well, I don't worry about it, Pearson. Go back in there and unpack. Next thing I know, the unit manager come by and said, you become a problem in here. I'll send you out of here.
Close was that to you getting home?
That happened in January of 20. I was out of the shoe, and I came home in September.
So did you, when you signed that paperwork, how long did it take for you to get released?
About 30 days.
30
Because I
days.
had to go to quarantine.
You had to go to quarantine because it was COVID.
Yeah.
So then when you got released, Freya, what was reentry like for you?
I mean, I was released into my house.
Okay.
It was a little hiccup in the beginning because I didn't know I had to go to the halfway house.
Right.
So I went home. And then they called me, and I was like, I didn't even know I had to go there because when I signed my paperwork, it was through a locked door. I
Okay.
never got to read it. And thank God I had sent an email to ask for a copy of it so I could see what I signed.
Okay.
Because I had that. The guy at the halfway house, the director, he violated me
Okay.
when I got out because I didn't come the first day. I said,
Saying
I
you
didn't
were
know.
late.
Yeah. I said, I didn't know to come. I'd have came there. Then I had the
Yeah.
audacity to show up in a rental car.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, you know. So he made me stay, and it was my grandbaby's birthday. I was so mad. I'm finally home for her birthday, and then this is what you do. But I stayed from maybe that Thursday or Friday, I think it was Friday, to Monday.
And that was it in the halfway house.
Yeah, he was when he came, and I had the paperwork, you know, and I was showing him. I said, I didn't have the paperwork. I said, I didn't know I would have came here. I said, why would I have come here? I wasn't to stay. I was just gonna come, check in, and go right home. So why would I not come? And so he's like, well, I said, well, he said, well, people, you know, they want to rush home. I said, but I was going home. So that don't make no sense. You know, I said, if I'd have known I had to come in, I would have came and did that. But nevertheless, I stayed there for 3 days. I met a couple of people, you know what I mean? So it was okay. But I was able to get home. My grandbaby did have her little birthday, you know, on her birthday. Plus I did something, you know, when I got home. But re-entry was it was emotional, but a quiet emotional for me because I had kids. I had to get back on track. My daughter, you know, wanted to finish school. I had to get all that situated, you know, and it was different
Well,
because I came home doing for everybody but me.
well, and work-wise,
I went
how
back to
did
my same job.
okay, the paralegal piece of that,
Didn't come till later.
didn't come until later. How did that happen?
Well, I came home and did my 2255. And the judge was now the chief judge. She wasn't a chief judge at first.
2255 for those that aren't paralegals. What are we talking about?
That's your habeas relief. So once you've gone through your appeal, then
Right.
you can file for your habeas relief. So it's your 2255. And you're supposed to do that within a year of whatever your final. Well, my final was the Supreme Court because I went to the Supreme Court. They ain't do nothing. But I wasn't, you know, I wasn't as experienced then as I am now.
Right.
So I didn't do things right.
Yeah. You know a lot
But when
more.
that happened, I decided, I said, something's got to give. So I started a FOIA request. And FOIA is a very interesting little creature. And I'm still fighting them. But I filed a FOIA request. That was in 21. And they lied about the paperwork, you know, but we'll talk about that another time. But
Freedom of information.
yeah, in 21. And so I just got to the point, my daughter got to going off on her own in 22. And then I had to have a surgery. And then I decided, you know, I need to figure out doing something for me. What is it that I want to do?
Mhm.
Well, I got to helping other people with the paperwork, you know what I mean? And I've always been a rebel, writing them up in when I was inside of there,
Mhm.
and so I said, well, you know what? I might as well go get the paper to do so. So I went back to school. I turned a 2-year paralegal program into one, got
Yep.
my AS degree and my ABA approved paralegal certificate.
Okay.
And then I said, well, I might as well keep going. So I have one more semester left for my bachelor's in law and paralegal studies.
That's great.
And so then I got to thinking, during this time, and I've gotten so discouraged because I've been very sick.
Mhm.
Um, do I want to move forward, with this law
Yeah.
school stuff?
Yeah.
This LSAT is kind of tough. I have the skills to um perform in law school. I have skills to perform in court,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I don't. This LSAT is different
Mhm.
because I took it once and I didn't like my score. So this is the second time tomorrow
Okay.
that I'll be taking it. And I'm just if I get past that part, I think I'll be all right because I'm holding a 4.0,
Yeah.
so and then I think with the school I'm in now for my BS, I have a 4.0, bringing in the combined grades from because you got to combine all of them. I'm
Mhm.
at a 3.952.
That's fantastic.
So, and I have been sick, as you know, very, very
Yeah.
sick in the last 9 months. I had a heart attack in July. Um, I have been in and out of the hospital prior to that. And I will tell you, it has been a struggle.
Mhm.
It has been a struggle.
But nothing
And
keeps
yet
you down, Freya. That's the thing that I love. And, I think, hopefully, if nothing gets in your way, I would love to see you go to law school and make that happen. And you know a lot. You know a whole lot more than you did from that person that was sitting next to
oh,
that
absolutely, day and
attorney.
night.
But if you think about everything that you've gone through, Freya, what do you think's your biggest takeaway through it all?
Um, well, what I realized, I used to be like most people, and I used to believe that our system of justice was flawed,
Mhm.
but I've since learned that it's corrupt.
Mm,
It's not just flawed.
mm,
And it's a hard thing to swallow to watch open corruption go unchecked and the lack of accountability. And so what I realize is that in order to win, they need to fight differently.
mm,
People, they're so hell bent on fighting law enforcement. And although I do agree that in some ways law enforcement are a problem and they can be a big problem,
mhm,
but the ultimate picture, when you really look at the culprit in the scenario, is the prosecutor.
mhm,
They let the officers off, even when they prosecute them. Some of them,
mhm,
they don't prosecute them with the vigor to actually win their entire case.
mhm,
And if you look at the culprit in the system, the only person who is not checked, who goes unchecked, is the AUSA and the prosecutors.
mm,
They have no one correcting their behavior, and they are running rampant through everybody.
mhm.
Through everybody. Look, look at the president's case. Come on now. He's a lot of things, he is, but come on now. That was some foolishness.
Yeah, and I think one of the things out of that, Freya, is I think it does shine a bigger light when you see these bigger cases and
Yes.
people pay more attention to them. Like, well, that
Yes.
doesn't seem quite right. That almost seems like lawfare. And I
Yes.
think when you see those type of things, when you go through it, you feel it, you live it, and you know it, and it's a different feeling. But when you see these different cases that go on where there's a lot of light that's shown on that. I think that's one thing that could help change things is
Yeah,
that there does need to be. I mean, you look at the
accountability.
percentages. Yeah, you look at the percentages. 97% of the people indicted, they plea. Uh, I think there's a 1% chance of somebody winning at trial if they go. It's just
No, the numbers are higher than that. I looked that up.
what's the chance? What's
Yeah,
the
when I looked it up, it was like 45%. If you fight, the majority
Oh,
of
you
this is
mean the number's higher if you go to
if you
trial?
go to trial. If you
45% win?
it was a higher number
Yeah,
because
okay.
this is the problem you face. I realized it.
And you might
And I
be
did
right
the
about
numbers.
that one because the one that I always focus on is the 97%
97,
that get
yes,
indicted because they don't hardly ever go to trial.
right. But then
And then
most of the
you kinda get
people,
a trial penalty if you go to trial
thank
because they
you.
don't wanna do that.
And they do. They give you a
Yeah,
penalty, and they're not supposed to do that.
right.
But the accountability comes in the indigent system,
Yeah,
because the indigent defense, they give you unqualified attorneys.
right.
They give you attorneys that are scared, that's using these cases as a stepping stone to their private careers. Then you have some federal defenders, not all,
Yeah.
who are collecting a cushion salary, and
Mhm.
they're really not doing anything but setting up pleas.
Right,
They're not defending people.
right.
You can't tell me
And that really is the system, though.
it
I mean, I'm not
is
really so much talking about state because state has a little bit more
different.
fluidity in it, but on the federal side, you're basically setting up an attorney to go make a deal for you,
A
and then
plea.
they try to mitigate as much as they can
Yes.
to get to where they get to, and everybody says, "Okay, you give up." But you didn't do that, which I
No.
think that's a s that's why I want you so badly to go to law school 'cause that fight of going through the system, knowing the whole system, of going to trial and the
Yes.
whole thing, I think that would make you a, um, ferocious person who's defending
I'm
someone.
on fire. They what they say, they set me on fire, not realizing burning bright is my best attire.
Well,
So
I know you are on fire, and I Freya, thank you so much for doing and sharing your story, and I want to
thank you.
thanking I wanna thank Homestead Financial, Home Mortgage. If you've got home mortgage needs out there, Greg Yaftiev is your guy. If you're looking for a book out there, I've got one, Nightmare Success, Loyalty, Betrayal, Life Behind Bars, Adapting, and uh, finally setting yourself free. And for anybody who's wanting to know what I'm doing, go to brentcassity.com. I spell it wrong. I spell it with a TY, not a DY. Also have a news website called nightmaresuccess.com. As I always used to say to my people when I was writing my emails back and forth from Leavenworth, stay strong. I'll do the
Man,
same. Freya Pearson, thank you so much for sharing your story today. What a fighter. What a fighter.
get ready because I'm about to start some mess with them now. I'm not done. I'm coming.
She's just getting started. Just
See
getting
him in that
started.
courtroom. I'm coming.
Nightmare Success in and out.